Yeah.
Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing. It's just you and me. Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing. It's just you.
Inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
I'm not crazy, Malin. I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 4
what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never. Like I do right now. Don't say you're on the run to the other side. Ooh, sugar. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.
Welcome back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through one thing. It's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Laura, is you gonna be able to find these shots true?
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Annabelle, immediately goes back, like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3, so back and forth.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to CGL for Season 16. It's the first week. We've had a couple of games this week, but Europe is going to have a fun time here, starting off in the Open Division. This is the best of the best, the cream of the crop, and we have 2 teams which, going forward, should be ones to beat. My Strategy versus Bliss Marauders. I am Egda, joined by Ray today. How are we feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. First sojourn into the EU for me this year. I love casting the EU division. It's so like dichotomy between NA and EU is always interesting to see in what regions prefer which compositions. We do have My Strategy going against Bliss Marauders Tier 6, as that is not our only game today. So we'll go ahead and pull up the schedule for you guys, as later we have an NA game, as Tarnished will be going up against Shoe Bill Nation at 8 Eastern tonight.
Yeah, it's a strange region, that one, over in North America. Here they do things like, I don't know, eat Play-Doh and smoke like crayons, but I'm not entirely sure. So in the real region of Europe, we're going to be going to a lovely European map. If you enjoy the scenery and the sunset, then Ilios is the place for you. We do have our first bans that have come out. Bliss Marauders have banned Winston, and My Strategy has banned Cassidy. So you get a Protect on the side of Marauders for the tank. I'm surprised at banning Winston necessarily. Winston is pretty good in the current state of the game, but not the best tank, I would say. Definitely going to things like, I'd say Wrecking Ball, interestingly enough, is probably the tank that's benefited the most from the recent balance adjustments and the addition of Wu Yang, which is something which I'm sure we'll be talking about plenty as this series goes on. But eminently still playable things such as the Hazard and the Diva. On Ilios, you're generally not going to play the brawlier tanks, and to be honest, even tanks like Ramattra have been pretty hard done in this most recent patch, so likely that we're still going to see some dive options, so we're looking at strategy. Let's have a quick look at these teams. My strategy going to be opening things up. Not really names that I'm familiar with. We have Nasan, we have Chush1, DNA, Alizo, and Brutus all together. I don't really know what to expect from this team. I haven't heard of them. I have not heard of the roster. But all I know is that they banned Cassidy. So that's the kind of information we're going on.
Yeah, I think Cassidy's, pretty strong right now as we see the Bliss Marauders tier 6 lineup with DJW, Zabber, Decay, Kill the Hog, and ATT4XX. That's going to be the big question today is, once we get through this map and Cassidy's available once again, we have seen in Korea, at least, obviously this is different, this is EU, later we'll have NA. They don't necessarily follow what Korea does, but we kind of have been in like this Tracer Genji style meta, so maybe that's what they want to play, and they're just afraid a little bit of the cast being able to affect Tracer.
Yeah, Tracer and Genji have been quite popular recently. It's been pretty flexible. So far, we've only actually seen one day of European Overwatch, but that has mostly been D.Va. Some ranged options. Cassidy still better. If you can get him in a safe spot, make sure that things like the Tracer, like the Genji, aren't going to be threatening them out that often, then Bob's your uncle. You can just play Wu Yang all day long. That gets a little bit more difficult on a map type like Control, where you have to be checking all your angles, where you're constantly rotating around the map, where essentially any part of the map can become a battlefield at any time.
As we see both teams lining up, we see Marauders with that Wu Yang with the Kiri combo, which from what I'm aware, that has been a very popular support pairing. As I say that, they are going to swap over to Brig Juno, so that's going to be more of your typical like dive style. My strategy, however, is going to go full in with that Wu Yang Kiriko, and they're going to do it with a Hazard. So actually haven't seen this pair with a Hazard so far. I'm curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Kill the Hog here. Say you had a D.Va on the other side of things, and you wouldn't be feeling too bad, but Hazard is notoriously pretty strong against the Swedish Shield Maiden, and DJW proportionally a bit stronger. I see your Swedish lady, and I raise you a Canadian lady instead. Puts 2 into 2 members of my strategy. Now we're going to have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, DJW is one of those names I recognize from last season as a killer Sojourn, so it's going to be one hero to continue to look out for as we continue to go on. Wouldn't be a shocker if that ends up becoming a target ban going forward, but Nissan finds ATT.
Yeah, ended up going all the way back, actually swapping over to Lucio just to get the touch onto the point quicker. But again, I feel like in the protracted engagements, the Wu Yang is showing a little bit more value. Lucio Brig is pretty cyclical. You can't want to do everything at once. Tracer is having a seat on something, I guess, the air itself.
As a great re-engage coming in from my strategy. Now the Hazard can look to set up these dives how they please. Great jump onto the high ground, but being forced pressure is DJW. They got to get out of there and survive, and they do.
Yeah, 2 people sent in to kill DJW, but no one actually leaves that engagement dead, so things are reset right now. You can see that Alizo's stuck in a very awkward position, but the peel is there, it is good. The Kiriko Suzu and the wave combination is good enough to keep your backline alive. Meanwhile, DNA has been put in a little bit of work in on the rest of the Bliss Marauders.
And again, they're just playing their positioning and their angles very strongly, and they're just doing a great job of not giving DJW those sightlines and those cross angles to be able to fire from, and they're just hunting them down immediately. We just haven't seen the same kind of follow-up between Decay and Zabber, who have that ability to go on these small little dives and look to get confirmed kills.
DJW falls so low. You can see Wu Yang able to put out so much pressure from other sides of the map, and eventually it's just going to be a little too much. DJW essentially falls over their own ankles there. Wu Yang ultimate comes in, not even into anyone specifically, just onto himself. You selfish man. K's going to pop in the bomb, the self-destruct, just for the remech, but you only killed Alizo, and you got picked before you could even get back at your mech. Not the greatest use of the ult.
And we're rounding final fight territory for Bliss Marauders. They're going to have a lot of ults at their disposal, but same with my strategy. So I feel like if you're Bliss, you got to look to try and get aggressive and hopefully catch someone out before the ults come out. But there's my strategy, getting aggressive.
Yeah, attack caught in that along with DJW. Nice, and more than happy to be cleanup crew for all of the filth on the floor that they just saw. And it's going to be pretty one-sided. Aside from a quick early cap from Bliss Marauders on their Brig Juno style, they swapped over to Lucio Kiri, and the Wu Yang proving to be a little too much for Burden to bear.
I think the Hazard also has been a really nice pickup here. They have been extremely aggressive, has DNA, finding isolated targets, and especially these supports, man. It feels like every single time they're either going after DJW, where they're trying to not let have sightlines, or they're going after these supports like ATTX or Kill the Hog, and they're just having a hard time living.
Don't forget the ability of Brutus on the Wu Yang to be able to enable their DPS as well, right? The Soj in a 1v1 against another Soj is going to be a lot happier fighting an angle when you have a permanent healing stream on you. Think of it similar to a Harmony Orb in that way. And even better if you can put it on Nasan's Tracer. I mean, that's been a tale as old as time. DJW on the Widowmaker, so definite range advantage, but we know that Widow has a lot of hit and miss potential. If you're not able to find your mark, it can be a struggle. DPS currently traded both of these sides right here. DNA might have reached a little bit too far. Try and get an initial kill, so it is going to have to back all the way up to the point. Early positioning, currently good for my strategy. The Hazard does have better point presence than a D.Va does, and Nasan eventually able to find DJW. It can be rather awkward on Widow. Even if you have the sight lines, if the shots aren't hitting, then it's just negative value at that point.
And Zabber's going to get two, gets both the support line. So now you can look to back up here and regroup, knowing they won't have their supports back for a little bit. And look to take a fast re-engage. Two crucial kills from Zabber.
Yeah, Genji really strong in the current patch. Zabba's basically been doing everything for Bliss Marauders for the past two fights. You open that initial fight up, the one that you lost, recall, by picking off both supports. You then open the re-engage by picking Tracer. Guy just did it all by himself.
He just said, I got the team on my back. As Alizo fully charged up, looking for a rail, but DJW instead finds a headshot. Takes them down and sends it back to the spawn room.
Yeah, there it is. That's the value that you want to see from the Widowmaker. Often, you know, you'll see Widow not get... What are you doing, Zabba? You're a freak. Okay, this guy's been in practice range for like 12 hours, memorizing those dash distances, getting those one-shots, and Genji obviously got a couple of perks reworked, but arguably in his favor, I'd say. Really good right now. DJW free to hit
100% trades coming out for my strategy and Bliss Marauders, but you would think with my strategy getting the Brig, now they get the Widow. Looking like they're going to be able to turn this around. The Blade, Zabber trying to make something happen, and it just doesn't. That Wu Yang ult stops him in his tracks, and he's about to go down.
Yeah, for all the time for himself on a moment's notice there. My strategy, bring that one back. This time it was DNA stepping up for my strategy to be the hero at the latter end of that engage.
We're going to see both teams with a lot to work with here. This downpour from DNA. I mean, there is a lot of mobility with this team, but the Brig and the D.Va, they can be easy targets, and the Widow. So all you have to do is get one and capitalize on it.
Attack went for the orbital ray, but it didn't come through, and that is by far the strongest ult on the side of Bliss Marauders. Now both backliners are dead. Oh, goodness me. I know we used to have an Ajax counter, but we might need to get the Rajax counter out, because that is appalling.
Yeah, or
Another thing to keep in mind, you know, me and Spectreon, another CGL caster, have been talking about it. You mess up your Wu Yang ult, we're calling that wave jaxing.
Understood. In the meantime, DNA goes through with an ult of his own, using that Spike Rain, and it gets the value required. Right now, you can see my strategy are just touching the spawn doors. They are not worried right now. They are not threatened. The DPS, both of the flex DPS are being so enabled. The bomb's going to come out from Decay, not going to find anything. The remake, clearly the superior ultimate of the two. Unfortunately, it's all for show, just a bit of a cosmetic win at the end. My strategy showing why the Wu Yang is so dominant, showing why it's the current meta.
Yeah, the Wu Yang looking incredibly strong out the gate for my strategy. Again, I just think the Hazard was playing a little bit better into this composition.
Quite enough. I think it's pretty clear that Dive is like the meta right now. The strongest tanks, again, we don't see a lot of Wrecking Ball. It is my own pet theory that Ball is, in theory, the strongest tank right now. But I could be stupid. But point is, it's either generally going to be Ball, Hazard, Diva, or Winston. All tanks with great mobility, all tanks are very survivable. Also, tanks that pair well. Because remember, every meta, generally, even though you form everything off it, it coalesces around one thing. And it's okay, what's the biggest thing in this new patch? What's the broken thing? It's Wu Yang. Okay, well, why is Wu Yang so good? Survivability, the ability to flush out angles without going onto them, so it's much safer than something like a Zen who has to get to the flank of the map to actually clear out the flank of the map, which is a very dangerous thing to do. Wu Yang sends a couple orbs over there, you force recall from the Tracer, okay, great. The healing stream is a better Harmony Orb, bluntly, meaning that you can enable your dive DPS even better, and when dive DPS are enabled by Wu Yang, then you might as well play a dive tank as well. See, everything falls into place because of one thing.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. I'm like, I don't know if it's necessarily like Wu Yang exists, therefore Dive is the meta. I think Wu Yang is great and can enable a lot of different DPS, but also Genji is in a fantastic spot right now.
Yeah.
Tracer and Genji work together well. Wu Yang only enables them even more. And what are you going to play with that? I mean, it's just going to be better to have high mobility tanks to keep up with the high mobility of being able to go in and out like Tracers and Genjis can. So that's why you get your Wrecking Balls, your Divas, your Winstons, your Hazards. So that's just kind of the name of the game right now. As we do know from here on out, it will be losers pick. Ilios is the map choice that's chosen for this week to be first map. We do have the pick in coming from Bliss Marauders Tier 6 as we're going to be staying on your side of the pond as King's Row is going to be map number 2.
Hooray! We can go to the pub in King's Row when this is all said and done. Wait for this all to blow over. King's Row. So everything that I just said about that makes sense, and that doesn't actually change the strength of the block itself. So still going to be super survivable for just sitting on the front line and eating a bunch of damage up. But of course, if you want to go over to something like the Orisa,
it's ideal if you have the Wu Yang. Or do you want to take away, you know, you're still gonna have the Wu Yang, but take away the Hazard. Okay, I'll just play Winston. I'll just play Diva or something. So it's a big question for what Marauders want to do.
Yeah, and it's not like there aren't other viable solutions. Of course, when Wu Yang is in the game, then like that is kind of the choice to be played. Of all things where it wouldn't be played, I thought it would have been Control, but we still saw great success from there. You go to a hybrid map where especially a defensive Wu Yang is really not going to struggle that much with angles or flanks or anything like that, or even needing to peel for another support, because that's one of his few weaknesses, that he sometimes will just leave his other support. Like, that's not really a problem on Kings. But if that is taken out, it's not like there aren't other things that can be done. So we theorize here, Bliss Marauders losing the map. They got the pick onto King's Row. Either they want to play a brawlier style, or realistically, they really like King's Row because it's a good map, and so that's why they picked it, which, you know, valid either way, I suppose, meaning that you probably want to ban something that would disable the dive as much as possible. You have a really cracked Genji player on your team, so I would not ban the Genji immediately. We saw what that guy was doing, was absolutely working overtime. The Wu Yang ban makes sense, but you only get one of those series. You ban the Orisa. So, okay, so what actually are you guys cooking? Are you going for Junker Queen? Are you insane?
Are they protecting something like that?
This has to be a protect ban. Yeah.
That's a very peculiar ban there. You know, maybe they were afraid Diva was going to get banned and they want to play Diva.
Because I'd assume that you pick Kings because you want to play something like Orisa, right? Or maybe you're Malging. Maybe it's Malging time. I would love if it were Malging time, but also it's definitely not Malging time.
I think I've started to get over my PTSD of how bad it was to be in that Malga meta. So I think I'm okay for a little bit, just a little bit of Malga, as Brig is going to be the second ban. So by theorizing about, do you know, look to ban the Wu Yang? Do you look to ban the Hazard? No. They said, let's get the Brig out of here. Oh, I mean, for my strategy, they're getting rid of the defensive backline capability that I felt like they were doing a good job of getting rid of the Brig, though. So I'm surprised they felt that was the most troublesome.
Yeah, I think right now the issue with Brig is like with all the changes that happened recently, Brig will always have a place, but right now she's kind of just a bit outclassed, right? That's how metas evolve, right? You know, you can have one hero who is the same the last patch. You know, Brig's the same last patch. He was like solid last patch. But now with Wu Yang, with the fact that Lucio Kiri comps are still ever available, with the fact that Brig, in theory, pairs well with a Wu Yang, but realistically, we just see a lot more Kiri with the Wu Yang instead. You know, why focus on...
I still think it'll have its place. Like, I still think Gibraltar, like, Brig will still do Brig things.
Yeah, with Brig on it, yeah.
But outside of that, I agree. Just Wu Yang, Kiri, Wu Yang, you know, whoever. It's we're gonna be in a Wu Yang area unless Wu Yang's banned, and maybe you start seeing the possibility of more Brig.
At least it's not Lifeweaver, who might I remind you got like all of the bans to survivability and zero compensation. When we were getting some play. Anyway, speaking of play, look
at this defensive setup. Look at this. Bap, Olari, that is not what I had on my bingo card. But again, between the Immortality Field, the Healing Pylon, a lot of utility there. And they also have a lot of utility of being able to hunt down kills as support players.
You're putting a lot of work on the supports here, in essence, right? Provided that the pylon is up, the tank is kind of doing like 70% of his job, and then the other 30% is just landing headshots. So my strategy, they see the initial things, and they want to roll out on the Hazard, Wu Yang, and the Kiri, and the Tracer. So they likely just want to take their time here, set everyone up in angles. Of course, fighting for the hotel is going to be pretty important. That seems to be where DNA wants to be staging from. Bliss Marauders, you kind of want to flush them out before they can even get there. And when the execution eventually comes through, we can see it is rapid and it is brutal.
Yeah, and the issue there was, as you know, they were coming from different angles, they all started to split up, did Bliss Marauders, and that is how my strategy is going to thrive. It's allowing DNA to find isolated players and get these pickoffs. Like, literally, it felt like Nissan and Aliso were just playing like, ooh, look at me over here, like a big distraction, while DNA just went and found picks.
Yeah, DNA did also int his brains out, which happens sometimes. It happens to the best of us. But you leave Tracer behind on cart. I don't think you're actually going to get an archway hold here. You won't be able to push past archway for my strategy on account of these late picks that you have. DJW just stands in the open and gets surprised when dying.
Yeah, and that already opens up the floodgates, as my strategy is now going to probably be able to get past the bookstore corner. So if you're the side of Bliss Marauders, you're not looking to take a full 5v5 fight and tell the Foundry corner, which is just so much free cart you just gave up. It's a Kutsune Rush now comes out.
Yeah, this is the snowball effect that we see on Hybrid, you know. It can just be constant forward momentum. Aliso on the angle is found by Decay. Brutus has tried to enable DNA to go into the backline, utilizing the Wu Yang ultimate there. DNA is able to get a couple of picks, but the trades are pretty good as well. This is what happens when you have that double flex backline. I don't think you're able to get anything with that Sunstruck effect. Not because Shush is here to assist the Hazard gives their own life in the process, and eventually, by the sheer power of these ults, we see a little bit of a double kill come out there. Return to sender type of situation, but I don't think my strategy can get a final cap here. They've simply bled out a bit too much.
Yeah, especially with that window coming up, but the downpour is going to keep them stuck in place. With the Lizo going down, however, that might be it.
Zaba tried to... So, Alizo tried to follow up on everyone that was caught in the... on everyone that was caught, but a reflect came through the window from Zaba, which just immediately eliminated Alizo. So by the skin of their teeth, Bliss Marauders able to hold on here. Now they have a firm defensive foothold. My strategy might struggle a bit to actually maneuver in here.
And they also have not a lot of defensive capabilities. They're playing Kiri Moira, which is... I mean, all you have is Suzu. So if Zabra pulls out the blade... all you gotta do is get rid of Suzu. You're gonna get so much effectiveness there, and Brutus is gonna go down. So it's just a free fight win if you're Bliss Marauders.
We're having this conversation before about how Moira and Wu Yang be quite similar. Hold that thought right now. As an overclock is popped from DJW, it seems to be late in the fight to try and get staggers. And honestly, I kind of like this. Even though you had won the fight, you extend that ult until the very end, like right when the enemies are able to regroup, so you get more staggers. It's essentially a risk-free ult and 2 fights for the price of 1.
Yes, we see Brutus going back to the Wu Yang immediately, which I don't even know why they were even attempting to play the Moira when Wu Yang's available and how much value you've been getting out of it. A lot of, we'll have Suchi is going to have it's in a rush. You have an overclock to go with that. But Zapper's still been holding on to this blade.
Yeah, we have a lot of resource being used. Captive Sun in the sky. Is it going to be able to get the shots onto Alizo? Yes, it is. Attack put themselves on a very strange angle to find that one, but it could just pay off if Decay is also able to win the frontline wars. Blade was used from Zaba. I assume that mostly just assisted Bliss Marauders in holding here. And I wasn't convinced on their comp when I initially saw it, but it seems to be paying off for them as we get later into this map.
Yeah, 1.5 minutes left for my strategy to try and get this point, and they don't have a lot of ults currently to work with. As Marauders, they're going to have their remix, and they can use their amplification matrix. Saw how well it went last time. Let's see if they can take advantage of it once again.
Don't get a flush out that angle, but DNA just goes in, absolutely murders and obliterates too. We are trading backlines to like the umpteenth degree right here. So it is literally just a case of, you know, which tank can be a bit more survivable as time goes on, which will have a few more resources at a time. We see the spikes come in from the hazard. It's able to lock up the D.Va, but the bomb zoned him out from actually being able to get the kill at the end of the day. Nice and back in the fight, able to get Zaba out, but the spawns are better for the Marauders here. Picked slightly in favor of my strategy, however. So an extended fight, this could end up being about even. Window, definitely going to even the odds for a moment.
Yeah, it's going to give them enough time, force the positioning of my strategy, and allow some of their players to be able to get back. My strategy's already got their full 6, as now we see the Wu Yang ult, and they get DJW.
Wu Yang ult is disgustingly good. You put it on a tank, you say go for it, and then they move on like a rabid little Pokemon, like some angry doll, and they end up just obliterating everyone. You can stick it onto a hazard, he can mindlessly leap into the enemy backline, and it's simple as 1, 2, 3 after that.
Alrighty, 1.5 minutes for my strategy. It did take them a very long time to get the second point, so quite the stall this Marauders were able to do. So they're only going to have a few cracks at being able to get this point all the way delivered. So you got to make it count.
And you can see it's the battle of the high ground right now. Both these tanks can contest it. They want to contest it. But again, attack opens the fight up. The trade backline style doesn't work as effectively when you don't have a tracer follow up with you. So even if you're DNA and you're able to get one pick, it's not going to be enough to do you well in a protracted fight. A minute left. I think this point is really where the Bliss Marauders comp becomes just better.
Yeah, the D.Va being able to control high ground a lot easier. There goes the Kitsune rush. Let's see how it goes.
Well, not great for the person that actually used the rush. We're going to see Killhog secure that kill. DJW doesn't even need any finesse, just walks up to the tank's face, blasts them with those overclock shots over and over again. And Attack has really picked it up on the Alari in the latter stages of this map. Again, the pylon does all the healing for you, so just click him in the head. You'll be fine, lad.
Yeah, with how that fight went so well for the Bliss Marauders, it was still an even ult exchange across the board, so devastatingly bad fight. For my strategy, out comes the window, trying to stop them from being able to touch. They got 10 seconds, they gotta go touch that cart.
Yeah, but the window is in a really rough spot, so they might even not have that luxury. I think we saw... I'm not sure if that was a wave jack, so I don't believe it was. Maybe it did come out onto DNA. We see the blade pulled from Zaba, able to get a few things. My strategy, winning in the trades here, pure numbers-wise, but overtime situation, numbers isn't going to be enough. You are bleeding right now. You need a bandage. You need something to stem it. Suzu forced out of Chush, so it's not going to be able to use to keep the hazard up, but it can't keep Zaba up either, who just came back from the spawn room in order to be killed again. The swaps are coming through from my strategy to get to the point quicker in the form of the Sombra, who's able to get in, pump in the damage, but eventually where the reinforcements are arriving from Bliss Marauders, this fight is scrappy at this point. There's no calls, there's no coordination, there's just pure raw spirit and emotion right now. Zaba gets back to the point that the hacks in a scrappy fight like this from Aliso proving to be very valuable. Decay is a big body to get back onto the point. A lot of health, a lot of resources. 180 pulse bomb, unfortunately, goes completely wide there. And off the back of that, unfortunately, I think that my strategy have played out a little bit too much. DNA still very healthy, coming closer and closer to this downfall. But we see just go off of the map in an attempt to contest, got accidentally booped, and there we have it. They made it a bit of a slugfest, but Bliss Marauders holding on just shy of third. Your win con is set.
I will say, though, for the side of my strategy, just to be able to get all that extra meterage there at the end when it was not looking good, as they're trying to make their rush for the payload, they lost 2 in that rush, and it looked, I just like, oh, that's it, but between Sushi and between DNA, you're able to find enough kills to be able to get that almost to the end there. And who knows, that might make the difference. We'll have to see how this attack goes for Bliss Marauders.
Yeah, and I wonder what they even play stylistically here. The Bapalari is a fantastic defensive composition. On the attack, it doesn't work as well. Or at least you need to adapt it a lot differently. You need to focus on holding key areas of the map, essentially trying to flip the sides, if you will. It's certainly possible for them, but it's a bit of a challenge. So we'll see how they can do that. It definitely looks like they intend to come out on the exact same thing. My strategy right now are going for all reliable. They are playing Diva, so I am going to play Zarya, which is basically the I hate you Decay option here. Decay might scout that, however, and go over to something like a Hazard or a Junk Queen. To be honest, Zarya is kind of a one-trick pony. It counters the Diva exceptionally well. Against most other tanks, it kind of struggles.
Yes, Decay is going to come out on the Hazard. It's the first time we've seen that out of them today, so I can't wait to see how that is going to go for them. We see the Widow taking a lot of shots, not able to confirm a kill yet.
Decay goes in, actually lives there. The Immortality Field was perfectly timed. DNA, however, gets a lot of energy out of that exchange. This is what happens when you wait. Where is my Widow, bro? Why is my Widow doing this? Ends up getting a nasty fadeaway onto Brutus before being sent back to the grave. 4v4 situation, but remember, this is always going to favor the attackers on this first point. Their spawns are far superior. K ends up getting slept by Shush, but again, Hazard pretty tanky, not going to struggle whatsoever. DNA currently out of bubbles and under a lot of scrutiny here. The healing is good in the backline eventually, and with all the pressure focused on the front line of my strategy, it allows the backliners, the sneaky players like Nisan, to get in and get those kills.
Yeah, so it's just getting some very crucial anti-nades onto some of these players. Just when you think, you know, it's looking rough, DNA is low, then comes a big nade and the healing comes in. The supports for my strategy are playing extremely well right now.
And the problem with Zarya is, like, you get one good fight against her, where she is practically useless. Now it's come in, you've had a couple scrappy engages, she's going to be permanently charged. You have a cannon on the field right now. With all the bubbles intact, it's going to be hard to deal with her. So instead of dealing with her, why don't we deal with the backline? Why don't we just get the shot onto Shush? This is going to immediately make the life of my strategy a lot harder. Brutus wants to equalize this with the Captive Sun, and it seems to be effective for Nisan, at least in the backline, to try and help out. Grav comes in from DNA, which should secure things here for my strategy. And still, despite getting that Ana picked first, they still managed to hold on.
Yeah, half the time has already gone off the clock. That was 3 ultimates using that fight from my strategy. But it was, you know, you did get the window out. But the Marauders, they're going to be coming in with the downpour, with the Captive Sun. You're going to have to hope you get a lot out of this Nano if you're such for my strategy.
Yeah, right now you're waiting, you're playing defensively. I'd rather just go for the Nano early, or just cast a magical spell. Put something in the drinking water. Means that DJW gets mind controlled into the kill by Brutus. Nano went out onto DNA, however, the combination of attacks Captive Sun along with Zaba doing usual Zaba things in the backlines. Finally going to seal the deal for Bliss Marauders on this first point.
Yeah, and kind of similar to how second point went for my strategy. That first point it took a long time for the Marauders. That was 75% of their time bank. So now they have to make this next point much faster. They can't have a second point like my strategy had. So they got to get moving.
Shush gets revenge after what happened in that fight 2 fights ago by actually getting the initial pick onto Kill the Hog. And to sleep onto DJW as well. Shush has really got mad after being killed once and decided to make it his life's mission to shut down Bliss Marauders. Unfortunately, you're not right now doing an effective job of actually stopping the car. It's likely you're going to be taking this first fight around the bookshop. Zaba has the blade ready to go, but it's forced to dash out before it's able to utilize it. Brief window of opportunity here. The case found a Lizo. DNA has the grab. Can you put it in? Can you get the kill here? Try and combo it up with the pulse bomb, but the pulse bomb itself actually misses. Now it's just all and out chaos. All the blinding lights on the screen, but a massive anti-nade comes out onto the members of Bliss Marauders. Not quite able to save Shush's life from Zaba, however. So Bliss Marauders get to cruise through second.
Yeah, another big team fight win with Marauders where they committed 0 into that fight. My strategy used 2 ultimates and they still lose that fight. They still come back with an overclock, but the Marauders, they have almost every single ult at their disposal at this point. This is exactly the kind of second point attack they were hoping for.
Yeah, we're immediately going to see that window come out, and it's the ult advantage that you mentioned paying off absolute dividends here. And in this case, it's not even so much for an ult advantage as a bit of an ult speed bump, right? Because they only use the window. They're in a 4v5 situation. Maybe they'll have to invest a Captive Sun as well. Support ults, of course, always going to be strong, but you still get to keep both DPS ults. You know, Decay's coming up to a downpour. That's really good economy there.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what my strategy is going to do here, as it feels like the Zarya is just feeling so much more useless now, but they're still going to keep it. I can't believe, especially, you know, like you mentioned, you're going to have a fight where you feel pretty much useless and you don't have that constant charge.
We have to see an Immortality Field come out. It was Shush again doing a phenomenal job of landing those cooldowns onto the Genji to force that angle to be a little bit peculiar there. We're going to see a downpour come through. Doesn't really find anything, but Shush goes down. Zaba with the blade is proving to be a demon right now. This guy on the Genji is an absolute freak of nature. If I'm my strategy, I'm looking at banning this Genji imminently.
Couldn't agree with you more. They have an overclock to try and clean things up, but my strategy has the Nano, has the Pulse, has a Captive Sun. They have the tools to try and stall out here, but they have 2 minutes to still stall out.
Yeah, we're going to see that overclock come out, and a Nano onto DNA. DJW has already found purchase with that overclock. Shush in the 2v1 actually ends up taking one down. It's pretty impressive, and the numbers certainly favor my strategy here. Sorry, Bliss Marauders here. It's just DNA alive who is on point, burning, bleeding out. Brutus comes back with the captive son, able to catch it onto 2 members. Is the follow-up damage able to come out onto 1 member? Yes, it can. We have Tracer back on the point, and DNA as well. Again, right now, for my strategy, you're not even looking at getting kills or winning the fight. It's just get warm bodies on that point, but unfortunately, they're all going limp. They're going lifeless and cold right before your eyes, and Bliss Marauders able to tie this one back.
And this is the kind of series we were hoping to have. Bliss Marauders comes back strong on their map choice of Kings Row. Again, they just looked really, really impressive with this BAP Alari double flex backline.
Yeah, I was very surprised at it. I did not think it would do nearly as well as it did, but a good man must determine when exactly he is wrong. But now I feel like those teams have a bit of a read in each other. From my strategy, I think the main point is the Zarya. It wasn't very good. Not because DNA did badly on it, charging up to a lot of energy, getting quite a few of those ults on the board. Like, I think the second grab was charged in basically record time, right? But you know that you have a hazard in DNA's back pocket. We've seen it for the past 2 maps, yet you don't opt into the hazard mirror with Decay. It's a bit baffling to me, especially because you bought in the Zarya to deal with Decay's Diva, which was causing you so many problems, and then there was no Diva. I feel like at that point, in a lot of comps, if your Zarya isn't being used specifically to enable DPS with bubble, things like a Genji or like back in the day the Reaper, which was a very strong combination. You just bubble the Reaper when they TP in and force the enemy into an unwinnable situation. You're kind of stuck just bubbling yourself over and over again, right? And at that point, it's a case of, okay, well, can the enemy team count to 2? If they can do that, the Zarya is not going to do a lot. And we saw that at the end of the day, Bliss Marauders were very good at just counting to 2 and then going after that. Because a Zarya without bubbles is literally useless. Is a wet paper towel.
And the big question of the day is, now that these teams have a read on themselves, what maps do we go to? What bans do we see? But we're going to have to leave you in a little bit of anticipation for that, because we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Grab a snack, grab a drink, because this is some high-tier Overwatch with a 1-1 series on our hands. We'll be right back.
Hello everyone and welcome back to My Strategy versus Bliss Marauders. Currently tied up 1-all, both these teams putting on slobber knockers, to be honest. You know, My Strategy came out swinging on map 1, playing the Wu Yang, playing it very effectively. And then Bliss Marauders, they came back on the second point. They went to King's Row. They kept their distance as much as possible. They played the double flex backline with the Alari. And essentially, they just sort of forced out they just kind of forced My Strategy's hand. They had to swap off the Wu Yang. They weren't particularly comfortable. Things got a bit leery for them, and they end up sort of collapsing close to the end.
The big question, as I talked about before the break, is now that they kind of have a read on each other, what they want to do, it will be My Strategy's map pick and first ban, so they will have the advantage with that. We do not have that in yet, so we'll get it to you as soon as we can. But again, I think a lot of it for My Strategy as well will be coming down to, how about let's not play Zarya?
Yes. It was one of the decisions of all time, and we will not reiterate why the Zarya wasn't great, because we would be here for about 12 days. So let's look forward to the future instead, right? So I'm surprised that the Wu Yang was working well on... I'm surprised that the Wu Yang was working well on control, but not working well on hybrid, to be honest. I thought that on Kings, you could kind of just take advantage of the... Again, it's not even like Wu Yang does insane damage, it's just he does precise damage. It's exactly where you want it, and it's very consistent, right? You're not really missing shots, you're placing them exactly where you want them. And it's like, okay, well, I need to clear high ground. Let me just shoot an orb to high ground real quick. I need to clear this lane. I'm just going to shoot an orb in that lane real quick. And I am going to be at no risk to myself and suffer absolutely no consequences from my actions here. And I'm surprised that you couldn't take more advantage of that on Kings. So instead, My Strategy have to go back to the drawing board. If they're going back to what they think, we're probably looking at something like a Flashpoint. Next map, the higher pace definitely favored them in Ilios. They looked very comfortable with the hazard into the Diva. It's too much of an oversimplification to say things like, you know, one character fast, one character slow. The Diva not really able to put a lot of point pressure on, which is a big weakness of hers. So when you can just sort of force an objective with the hazard, you're going to do a little bit better in that head-to-head for My Strategy, which I think they should go towards. But of course, it's entirely up to them. I'm just a guy that yaps at them and tells them to play the game better when they're already playing it infinitely better than I ever could.
Yeah, it still feels a little strange that literally it felt like Bliss Marauders kind of played into My Strategy's hand, playing the hazard on that attack, and to not opt into that duel was very peculiar. So we'll have to see how this goes for the series for the rest. Do they look to take us to a map where they maybe... I don't know why, because they played the hazard on the attack, so it was just so perplexing why they abandoned it on the defense.
Yeah, so something which we would have to do like a kind of deep psychoanalysis for.
Well, if they win and we get an interview with them, we'll have to ask.
I see. Okay. Well, I'm sure that I will completely forget that by the time the interview rolls around. So we're still waiting on the teams to do a couple of things. So I guess the other big thing to talk about this patch, Wu Yang is of course the elephant in the room, but also a lot of perks have been reworked. I'll be completely honest here. I don't even know all the new perks yet because they change a lot. You know, some of the strongest perks either got removed entirely or changed to minor perks. I'm thinking, you know, something like Hazard, where the Deep Leap Major was turned into a minor perk with a little bit less effectiveness, and then the Reconstitution for getting energy back on the block when you hit people with a Jagged Wall, that got turned into a major perk instead, something that makes sense. I know that Farah's Drift Thrusters just got completely removed, so you can't move during Barrage anymore. Unlucky kid, sorry about that, I guess. In the meantime, there's a bunch more other changes as well. I'd have to go into those quite a lot, but that is something where it's not like your main focus when you make a comp, when you theory craft, but it's something that to be considered. Okay, what are the strength of the perks? So to put it into perspective, a character like Ana who has been a little reduced in effectiveness because, yeah, all her perks got nerfed. You know, Biotic Bounce, which was insane before, still pretty good, but it got moved to a major perk. You don't have Shrike anymore, which was probably the best perk in the game, if I'm going to throw that out there. So no more double nano boost either. It's something which adjusts the meta in ways that we can't necessarily fathom. Speaking of something we can fathom, we have a map, and it's going to be Dorado.
There's no surprises here. This is going to be very similar to excuse me, what we saw on Ilios. I think similar compositions: Hazard, Monkey, Diva, Ball. These are the kinds of heroes that are going to be good on this map. We'll have to see how the bans go, but it wouldn't surprise me. This is another good Wu Yang map. But again, it's hard to speculate until we see what these bans are, because it's going to be extremely important, because we've seen both teams pull the Hazard. We've seen mostly my strategy playing the Wu Yang. So do you try to go for a protect on your support and try to protect the Wu Yang?
Probably seems like the play here. Though I also take some issue with the fact that they were forced off it last time. I guess there's something to be said about, you know, the skill floor of Wu Yang. It's definitely higher than something like Amoy, but I'm gonna sit here and say it's not that high, realistically. You don't need tons of mechanics, I would say. You know, the hitboxes on your water balloons are pretty generous. Your healing's automatic. Your wave goes in a straight line, and your ult, you click on someone. You don't even have to click completely accurately. So I'm a little confused as to how you actually get forced off the Wu Yang on something like the Moira, when the Wu Yang does everything the Moira does, but better. So we're going to see the picks and bans very, very shortly. Should be out from both these teams. So my strategy, again, we have a little bit of a read on what could be done, but we're not going to know for sure. I think there's a good chance that they could just get rid of the Diva, because it causes them a lot of problems. It stops them from having to deal with that whole song and dance routine, and okay, yep, that would be it. Diva banned, so you don't have the song and dance routine of forcing a Zarya in a spot where it doesn't make any sense. You can probably still play the Hazard. It's Dorado after all. Winston becomes a bit viable here, because you got rid of the Diva as well. Diva being, of course, a pretty solid counter to the Winston. So Bob's your uncle at this point, but it's going to involve dive. We know that much.
Yeah, I think for these teams, it's probably going to come down to Winston or Hazard on this map. We even saw this was a very favorable map for Geek back in last stage playing Hazard on this map, and Hazard is still in a good spot, so that wouldn't shock me with these teams showing the capability of being able to play that. Bliss Marauders going to ban out the Tracer, as Nissan has been very good on the Tracer so far. So the big question is, what do you look to play instead if you're Nissan? We talked about how powerful Genji is right now, but we have not seen that out of him thus far in the series.
Yeah, part of me thinks the Genji ban would have made more sense. Zabba has been playing nothing but... On the flip side, Zabba has been playing nothing but Genji on the other side of things. And you know the guy's a freak. You know that Dorado is a map where Genji is going to be pretty good. I'd argue better than a Tracer. So I actually feel like Bliss Marauders are slightly shooting themselves in the foot a bit. Getting rid of the Tracer, to me, suggests that they want to go for something a bit more wholesale of a change, right? Because nothing was forced, right? They did not have to ban the Tracer here. It is a staple dive character. So now I'm even questioning what we knew about these teams and, you know, putting them in the they're going to play dive, or they're going to play this, or they're going to play X, Y, and Z. Because I feel like banning the Tracer suggests that you actually don't want to play dive. But we banned Cass instead. So, you know, that happens to the best of us.
Sorry, excuse me. I felt like I was going to sneeze again. Anyway, we did see a little bit of a mix-up there. I don't think the bans were on for the map as we... we're gonna get you guys right back into the game very shortly. As we talked about, bans for this map were the Diva for the side of my strategy, and Bliss Marauders banned that Tracer. It did look like, I only saw it for a second, but it kind of looked like they were going to play Hazard. But again, that had just loaded up, and no one had, really come out of spawn yet.
Yeah, we also have a substitution as well. Selex, GG Selex, should I say, is in for... Oh god, who was it? My memory losing. For attack, yeah, for attack. So we're going to see different support come in. Could amount some amount of flexibility if you have someone who's a bit more dedicated playing the main support, someone a bit more dedicated to playing the Wu Yang, I guess. Maybe this just explains everything. Bliss Marauders weren't playing the Wu Yang because the person who played Wu Yang for them was like running late, was choking on a pizza or something along those lines. Now we're going to see that come out from both of these teams. Killhog, interestingly, still going for the BAP. Basically not going to be able to heal this ball like in the slightest. So I'm thinking you're on BAP for the damage output, the immortality fields. I think at that point, you might as well play something like an Alari. If you're not going to use your BAP to take advantage of the splash healing, then play something that can be a bit more direct.
As we do see Nissan going over to the Genji with the Tracer being banned, I can't wait to see these two compositions interact. The Winston versus the Wrecking Ball. As we do know with the Wrecking Ball compositions.
Ooh.
Wow.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you scout. I feel like that is like the oldest trick in the book. Hold that little high ground if you're on a dive tank. Unfortunately, no one scouted it. Generally, it's DNA's job to go up there and clear it. Didn't happen, so the slam and the dash was free onto the backline of my strategy.
Now they're immediately going over the Honor to be able to have that sleep dart to be able to try and place on top of this Wrecking Ball, on top of Decay. Gonna slam in and roll out as Wrecking Balls do. Great little setup.
Ooh. Yeah, Kill the Hog falls very, very low there. Has to use the Immortality Field in the meantime. That's the first hit that's come out. You can see Decay's ult charges, but essentially just farming these slams. So now you've got to wait for Zabba to be in a good position to come back in, but that's not going to happen. My strategy, they pull the trigger first, and ball comps generally don't react well when the other team makes the first move.
Yeah, but you are going to get DNA caught out. We have talked about there have been times where DNA kind of ends a little bit, and that's another example of that. As Selex on the Wu Yang looking very strong coming in off the bench.
Yeah, and speaking of things that pair well, we're going on about it all day, but I like how my little pet theory is now coming to fruition about the strength of the Wrecking Ball with the Wu Yang. Because you don't really need to be healing your ball. You can use orbs to assist in the dive. You can use your splash to help as well. And of course, the ult is going to be phenomenal. Big anti comes through there to eliminate the members of Bliss Marauders. However, without a backline, surely something's got to give.
As we immediately see a lot of success coming out from my strategy as soon as they get back to their roots, back to the Hazard composition. I do like both these teams making the change up to play Cassidy on this map, especially when more higher mobility tanks are in the question. That flashbang can help a lot.
Ooh, just so incredibly low there. We can see the Wu Yang will actually come out just to help confirm that kill. Heavy investment from Marauders. They use the minefield and the tidal wave from the Wu Yang as well. DNA going to be caught out in his backline, eventually falling. I don't believe the late kill to kill the Hog is going to have much impact there.
Yeah, but my strategy used the Nano and their own Wu Yang ult as well. So I mean, you invested as much as the other team did. So you're feeling pretty good, all things considered. And then this downpour from DNA. I mean, kind of go after the BAP and the Wu Yang, but there's just a lot of mobility as Izo gets Selex, but in return, that's two for two.
Yep, alright, it's trade of the backlines once more. Who can do better? The ball and the Genji! Unfortunately, you underestimate the power of one very amped-up swimmer who's able to literally just duel out a Genji somehow, some way. There was a blade available for Zabba too. didn't end up pulling it, was confident in the ability to get the kill, but that Wu Yang, you'd think, okay, well, I dive him and I can get a kill, right? Nope, he is a surprisingly good duelist.
As they're going to get that point across with just a little over 30 seconds left on the clock. So again, you know, it still took them a while, so they got to make sure they get the second point moving, but both teams, you know, have some good high ground control with their players. You're just going to have to make sure you take it away from Bliss Marauders. They did a smart job, great ante, but Elizo is taken down.
Yeah, we see the blade come out from Nissan, but it's going to be immediately shut down as well. DJW putting in the moves this fight, doing absolutely everything, and then just Deadeyes at the end as well. Just a style on them, why don't you? They're already dead, man. Just let them retreat in peace.
Still downpour available for DNA, but as I talked about the mobility of this composition for Bliss Marauders, it's going to be tough to try and catch somebody because Sojin has the slide, Genji's, you know, one of the most mobile DPS in the game, so we'll have to see how this goes as Minefield comes out and they find Sush.
I feel like this Ana is just having the worst time right now. As Zappa pulls the blade, is able to get some good value off of it before DNA is eventually taken down. Minefield and a blade used, but we know that the thing that Wu Yang can't really do is peel for the backline. So Chush is basically just dead every single fight in this setup. I think we need something that isn't an Ana here.
Anti-Nade is going to force some of the players back as Decay went for the slam, didn't really get anything as we do see that new perk with the shield coming in on Decay with that adaptive shields coming in.
Oh no, that's a disgusting combination. Everyone hit with the slam at the exact same time that the Captive Son comes out. There are moments where you look at that and you just absolutely salivate right now, right? Bliss Marauders, they played their Wu Yang, but now they're going back to Old Faithful with the double flex support. And even though in the extended scrappy fight, my strategy were able to just about eke it out, I feel like Bliss Marauders have set pretty good tempo.
DJW now going to go over to the Ventures, so two high mobility DPS characters now at the disposal of Bliss Marauder. But my strategy is going to have a massive ult advantage. The downpour comes out, finds DJW, and that's already a great opening.
Yeah, DJW taking a break from munching rocks to instead get caught in the downpour and then immediately executed off the back of that 4v5 situation. Now as my strategy continue to push in here. Slamming the corner from Decay, nano boost onto DNA, who is just ignoring the ball. Ball can appeal with things like the boot, with the shields and giving it to the enemy team, but ultimately if there is someone that really wants your backline dead, one Wrecking Ball is not going to stop them, especially if that one person is a nanoed hazard.
Third point essentially getting capped with no time on the clock for my strategy, so they're only going to have a minute and a half for this third point. So it's kind of very similar to King's Row because of how long it took them to get these points. They're only going to get 2 or 3 chances at this point 3 attack, so they have to make them count. As Bliss Marauders will have that minefield once again, who's every time has found great success with it.
Yeah, there was a sleep that came out onto kill the hog there, but no one really in a position to do anything about it. My strategy pressuring out this high ground very, very effectively. We see Nissan on the flank, I believe, or something crazy along those lines, with the overclock come out. Decay pops and mines on the point and going to catch Brutus as well. All of these fights, it seems that they're just devolving into the most scrappiest slugfest affairs that I've ever seen, with no team really getting a clear advantage.
It's like I'm watching like some weird free-for-all match. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, my strategy is getting control of this high ground very slowly over time with DNA. Sush! Finally a pick is found.
Yeah, 2 actually. Who would have known that Bliss Marauders not only had one cracked Alari player in attack, but Celex as well could also pick it up like it was nobody's business. At this point, like, I'm beginning to think that you just put like an evil mustache on attack, and that's exactly who you have in the lobby. Decay able to get a late kill onto Brutus here. Touch has to come out from my strategy. They're going to have touch against a window. DNA is able to get onto the point, but immediately just eats all the damage in the world in the process. And at that point, you're just free-firing if you're Bliss Marauders there. And then a victory blade at the end for Zappa as well. Once again, my strategy able to push through 2 points, but Bliss Marauders able to do well to hold on at the end.
Considering how well those points were going for Bliss Marauders for the longest time, I mean, the fact that you're able to get 3 points and get around the first corner, I feel like is a big one for the side of my strategy. We're gonna have to see how this defense goes. However, Kings Row didn't bode too well for them. I mean, after a great first point defense with Azaria, it all came crumbling down. But they are playing. We'll see, because we saw on Kings Row they started out on the hazard on the attack, did pretty well, and then abandoned it on the defense. So let's see what they do on this defense.
Yeah, we have the exact same question going in here of, okay, well, their comp works pretty well defensively. How's it going to work offensively? I think we're at a point where, like, we just need to shut up and let them cook. I mean it in the nicest way possible to us, of course. Because they're clearly making it work. With the Bapalari, it's not necessarily about... You have to do a bit more work because you don't have the space initially. You have to put yourself into the space. As DNA is going to have a quick pause here. When you can very much play this composition to attack with, except you're just going to have to work a bit harder to take the space. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on mostly Decay to clear that space for the backlines to get into a good position. But if they get in good position, they still have a firing angle. They're able to get their they're able to get an Alari pylon set up, put themselves on some safe angles where they can shoot back, and suddenly things become a little bit of a disaster.
For the side of Bliss Marauders, I mean, you have all this positive momentum going your way. You won Kings Row, you come here onto Dorado, you have a great first point attack, you let it slip through your first point defense. Let it slip through a little bit, second point's going good, you let it slip through, but you're able to hold strong on the third point, feeling very much essence of Kings Row. So he's got to make sure they come out on this attack with their game plan. I think the Wrecking Ball slam combos with so many different things are working out well, whether it's Zabber coming in with dashes, or we saw the Alari ults coming in with it. I think they know how to play this Wrecking Ball composition pretty well, and they just need to continue what they've been doing.
Yeah, it's mostly just sort of about going back to the basics. Again, I just want to say how incredibly proud I am of myself for being vindicated that Ball is actually really, really good, and I'm not just a complete lunatic. But yeah, no, Decay's been absolutely killing it on the ball thus far. We can even see it on the scoreboard right now, leading the lobby in everything. Like, very barely over, Zabber on his own team. But yeah, no, he's leading the lobby in elims, he's leading it in damage, he's charging his ults like crazy. On the attack, again, Ball, you have to do a little more work to set up. You can't just sit on this high ground and expect a free slam. But something tells me that Decay is willing to put in the work for that.
As we see on the attack for Bliss Marauders, they're going to have DJW go over to the Sombra, which I think is to try and help with DNA, who's been diving the back line, trying to look to hack and, limit him a little bit, as we see Elizo going down to DJW.
Yeah, DJW came in at the exact same time as Decay did. Decay goes for the old rollout that every Hammond player knows at this point, try and boot off the high ground of the first point of Dorado. It's not going to work, but it's going to be good enough to get a kill onto Nissan regardless. Sticks it a little too long. Ball never has any issue getting back to the fight quickly, however.
Yeah, there's so much mobility. It's not going to take them that long to be able to get back in. Trades coming back and forth, but DNA finding 2. I think that might quell this forward momentum for Marauders as long as they can get back quick enough.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of inexperience on the Sombra coming out from DJW there. You can see a low health target and think, okay, I got the kill, but you invest your translocate to get that. You've got no escape plan, and Kill the Hog's been taken down, which is a big brunt of healing. I've not talked about this yet. We have a Weaver out, which, I mean, this is a real comp. We know that it is, but 1, on attack, not really, and 2, with Weaver, like, getting kind of nerfed. Also not great.
I don't know, man. Wrecking Ball Genji, I don't know. It just feels weird. Like all these characters have easy mobility to get in and out. Like you don't need a pull like you would sometimes when it was run with like hazard, you know, compositions.
Yeah, right now we can see I mean, again, like, it is the strength and weakness of Weaver. The strength is that he can slow the game down massively. If he's on the defensive side, you keep him up. He's keeping everyone alive. His healing output's insane. He can grip people to allow him to play super aggressive. On the attack, what does he do? He doesn't really enable anyone, at least when compared to other supports, which is why we're going to see an Alari come out.
All right, here we go. Wu Ying going to come out as well as the minefield, trying to look for pick. Downpour also still available, so we're going to see it come out.
Oh, and it's able to sort of shut down the blade. It catches out Zaba for a moment. Unfortunately, he's able to reflect the Deadeye right back into Nasan's face. So it was a good attempt from DNA to shut that ult fight down from Bliss Marauders. But they swap their composition. They get a new lease on life and they're able to catch first, just like that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that was a lot of ults used by my strategy to try and keep that first point defense going. But Zabber, who has just been, as you called, a freak on the Genji, continues to show, you know, and question, why haven't my strategy banned Genji yet?
I don't know what DJW is playing in his earphones while having that little dance along. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is fighting for their life and could really use the help of an EMP, like, right about now. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Some mistakes are more obvious than others, but they all still add up.
You see that Wu Ying distance damage already going insane up against Celex on that Alari. We see, once again, Wrecking Ball rolling through, trying to go after Nissan, but you have a lot of damage you can throw down with that Fan the Hammer from Cassidy.
Yeah, that's unless you take the Silver Bullet, the other perk. But in a situation like this, I don't think you really want to get rid of the Fan.
No, there's not really a whole lot of...
Apologies, my happens to the worst of us. Trades have come out, currently a 4v4 situation. Kill the Hog in a really risky spot, but actually really good peel. I believe it was Celex who was actually able to outburst the hazard away from the BAP, so is going to be able to live for a little bit longer right now. We still have the EMP from DJW. It's going to come out. It's going to hit onto 2 members here, and it is going to be relatively ineffective. You know, EMP is your golden goose ultimate. You can't just use it in a situation and end up losing with it, to be honest. It should be a fight win every time.
Unfortunately, they don't win, and they get Kill the Hog on the way out. Out comes the Captive Son, but there's no follow-up. They've been so good with being able to combo that. This time around, it's just not there. Feels like they're feeling a little frantic, given there's a minute and a half left on the clock, and they just, you know, make a mistake there.
Yeah, now DJW is on the Widow. This point is good-ish for Widow with a big asterisk. You need to set up, and preferably you need to be on the second half of the point as well. You don't have those advantages for the time being, and you have a crazy ult bank from Marauders to contest this high ground. We're going to see it immediately with the minefield and the blade comboed up. Roots and Nisan going to be taken down immediately. And a late kill onto DJW not going to be worth anything. DNA is trying his absolute damnedest right now to trade backlines, but it's not working.
I mean, they got both the DPS, so you don't have a lot of damage output, but with the window, with the pick onto Tush, that should wrap things up.
That's a perfect lamp. Oh my god, that lamp was perfect.
Yeah, it was. As we know, the amount of skill Kill the Hog has on this map season, because of the amount of time my strategy had on that third point, they didn't get the cart that far on the third point. So 2 minutes on the clock. This is very achievable for Bliss Marauders.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't even need to push it all the way to the end of second, right? This fight isn't going to be great for them. They'll only have the infra site, and well, they're not even going to have that with Nasan taking ahead right there. Not going to have any strong resources to work with compared to my strategy. Honestly, I think they need to hard engage, force some ults in a dry fight, and then go back when all is said and done. But if Zab is able to win an angle where Nasan is, that could change things massively here. They're going to get some more distance.
City Rush now going to come out to try and give them an advantage. Izo able to find a pick, but they're going back and forth.
Yeah, and there it is. The ults have been forced from my strategy. Both support ultimates, 0 used from Bliss Marauders. So now we're coming up into a fight. Things going to look a little better for them. Both support ultimates and a minefield. Minefield in these, have to contest the payload situations, genuinely one of the best ults in the game.
Yeah, and I think the issue is you probably have to win 2 more fights of your Marauders, because they're camping the payload right now. So you win the fight on the payload, and then they'll be able to get back before you get this payload across the finish line. Here comes the Captive Sun.
Captive Sun comes through, looking for an angle with the minefield as well, and the slam. It's a good combination. They're only able to get Elisa right now. Both these tanks doing a lot of work currently. Killhog pops the window in, gets taken down by a wall. All of these trades are coming out one-on-one. It's both supports now stuck in a corner. They're able to just heal for each other so effectively when their backs are against the wall. This Wu Yang eventually going to be forced out. And again, some of those stray mines are still there, which means that the members of my strategy struggling to push forward a bit. But Elizo ends up getting the cleanup crew at the end of the fight. And at the final hour, in quite literally the last 5 seconds possible, we barely see the win come out for my strategy. Going up 2-1 in this series, but I would not be surprised if we go to 5.
And this felt like getting back to basics for the side of my strategy, getting back to that hazard, getting back to that Wu Yang. And then even at points, they were running Sojourn Cast, and I actually didn't hate it. It was working to his advantage. And Elisa's done a great job of when, in desperate times when they have to get back quickly, going over to Sombra, but it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm only swapping to this because I need to go touch the point, I need to get back fast. They're finding value out of it when they do go to it.
Yeah, really doing phenomenally well there. But both of these here, I'll be completely 100 here. It sort of felt a little bit like we were descending into like a total slugfest at several portions of this map. I feel like for a lot of it, strategy went a little out the window, and it was literally all around, okay, we're going to send our tank to do something, and at the same time, everyone else is going to peek. Remember, if one person does something stupid, it's feeding. If 5 people do it all at the same time, it's a strategy. So we're seeing a lot of strategy come out today.
Yeah, that is true. Coaches always say, if you're going to do something stupid, do it all together because it's better that way, which it is, most of the time. So 2-1 lead for my strategy. Yep. They're on match point now. All they got to do is win 1 more map, and they will walk out of week 1 with their first dub of the season.
Strange. I took that advice from my high school football coaches about doing stupid things, and then they kicked me off the team. It was very tragic. Very tragic.
Fair enough. Yeah, so the big question is, what do we look to see from Marauders who do get the map pick? They will get the first ban. I would heavily be considering looking to ban a DPS just to protect the Genji, because if I'm my strategy and I want to secure this win, I ban Genji on this next map.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did see both Zaba and Nissan play it. Of course, Nissan did a solid job, but ultimately I will just about give the edge to Zaba still in the Genji. Maybe it's just based off memory of the first 2 maps and the freakish things that were going, but this is really proving to be a slugfest, and these next 2 maps are slugfest type maps. It is Push and it is Flashpoint, the 2 maps which are the epitome of go kill sort of. Push I like because macro begins to involve the map itself and the mechanics specifically centered around it, as opposed to you kill the enemy to push the car, or you kill the enemy so they don't push the car, etc. You actually need to be... There are several strategies that you could do with the objective itself, which is pretty nice. But we're not going to look at that. At least maybe not till the 5th map, because we're going to Flashpoint. Suravasa going to be our next matchup here. Picks and bans still first to come out. Here's the thing, in a lot of these segments, I like to do the predicting. I like to be really clever and do some 4D chess, be like, oh, well, maybe if they ban this character, then this will cause some ripple effect on the game. I could not tell you what's going through these teams' heads right now. So, do you have an idea of what could be banned here? I have none. There's nothing in this.
I think it depends. I was a little bit mistaken. Marauders get to decide if they want first ban or second ban. I just feel like you always want first ban because you can kind of dictate whether we want to protect this or get rid of this. You have a lot more
it is literally, would you rather have $1 or $2?
Yeah, because it's like you have a lot more agency if you ban first. I don't know why you would ever give the other team an opportunity to ban first.
Yeah. Sometimes $1 just looks really appealing instead of $2, you know.
Anyway, yeah. Again, my opinion is Marauders need to protect your Genji at all costs to try and keep yourself in the series. So I would be looking to ban a DPS like a May or something just to protect the Genji.
Yeah. Is Bliss get to ban first here? So as I said, I genuinely have no idea. I wish I could be a bit more maybe political or better with that. But no, I do not have the faintest clue right now what they're going to be banning. So I will let it see. I think what you said about DPS makes sense. Protect the Genji, and yeah, that's actually what they're going to do. They're ban Cass, which indirectly buffs Genji as well, because you're not going to have the flashbang to deal with in any of these engages. Cass, of course, did get hit with a pretty sizable nerf, I'd say, losing that 25 HP. Cass is always in a predicament where he has 250 HP and he's not great, and then he has 275 HP and he's absolutely nuts. And there's generally no in between. But banning him means that the Genji is eminently more playable. So now we go back onto my strategy. And what strategy could they be cooking up?
The question is, do you want to try and, ban out like this double flex support we've been seeing out of them, like ban a BAP or ban a Lari, so you don't have to deal with that? Because the windows have actually been pretty effective, all things considered, from the BAP-T. So I'd at least think about that if you're the side of my strategy.
Yeah, no, actually that makes the absolute most sense. The Alari as well. That's not something that my strategy are playing a lot of, but is massively favored by Bliss Marauders. So anything for that could work well. I say, honestly, Tank hasn't been banned, so you can keep playing it, but something, I'd say ban Brig, but you can't do that again, because that would enable the ball, which has looked really, really good thus far for my strategy. So I'm interested to see. And
this is a pretty good ball map too, so we wouldn't be surprised if
this is a fantastic
Marauders.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree with you there. Unfortunately, the answer of what's being played is you decide, I guess. Taking their sweet time with these bands. I like how unpredictable this is, because even though we can put a little bit of stock in, okay, well, Bliss Marauders can play double flex backlines, and my strategy can come out with X or Y or Z, or they want to play Hazard, or they're good at the Wu Yang or something like that.
I called it.
Okay, so yeah, you were basically right. I can give you your medal now if you'd like, or I can give it to you in a few days.
Is it nicer if I get in a few days? Like, is there more time spent on working on it?
No.
Oh, then I'll just take it now.
You can't have it now. I lied the whole time. There was no medal. I'm sorry to do that to you. I think the change would have been, if you said in a few days, I would have told you in a few days that there's no medal. So you would have had false hope for a lot longer. It's kind of sadistic, but that's how it be sometimes. So, Baptiste and Casti ban, two very defensive characters which are not going to be played. This kind of suggests that we're getting some aggression out from both of these teams.
Hypo aggro, hypo aggression. Wouldn't be surprised if we see Wrecking Ball Hazard again from both of these teams as those compositions feed into their styles of play. Question is, what supports do we get? Are we still going to see double flex out of Marauders even though the BAP is banned? Are we going to see the Wu Yang out of my strategy? Celix is still in the game, so the possibility of the Wu Yang is on the table for the Marauders as well.
But also attack is in on DPS. And I believe attack was on support before. So, okay, well,
And Celix is
flexibility
on
is
tank?
everything. Oh, yeah, no, so, and Decay is on support. Okay, so you're down in maps and you've decided to just completely... This is a complete role swap. We have a new tank player, a new support player, and a new DPS player. Your style is completely different now. You're going for the Orisa, who is definitely better brawler. I think Hazard is the stronger overall pick right now with the Wu Yang, but I think if you play this comp with confidence, especially with the Genji from Zabad, there's not going to be a cast counter on the other side. You play it with confidence, you assert yourself on the point, and you just kind of act like a Venus flytrap to proactively get at anything that might try to take you down, then you could be in for some success. And that's exactly how you do it. You run right in onto Brutus. You don't give the time for the Wu Yang to react to the fact that he is about to get murdered, and you succeed there. Good trades count for my strategy, but it's 3v2 currently for Bliss Marauders, so they will get first point cap.
Yes, it looked like DNA wanted to go in to contest the point, not allowed to get capped, but they weren't able to touch in time. No swaps coming up for my strategy. Again, I think they just kind of got caught off guard by the composition they're playing, and free cap just was given to my strategy.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be the case. I feel like the Orisa can hold the space maybe a tad better than the Hazard can, and they are pretty even in that regard. And so this goes forward there. Gets immediately taken down. You can see just the sheer volume of damage that my strategy can output. With a Sojourn in the front line, Wu Yang also deals crazy damage. Definitely better than something like a Lucio, right? So Celix, if you don't... Celix, you have to kind of just work things around. So I got distracted by a message.
It almost feels like mystery heroes are a hint of desperation, dare I say?
Yes.
Attacking now on the Ashe. Like, Ashe is definitely, you know, big in the meta right now.
Yeah, and then I genuinely don't know. Bliss Marauders, I mean, put it like this. They remember that they're also completely off-rolling. And they're on characters that don't really make a lot of sense. Ashe is just not as good as Sojourn right now. Simple as. So I don't know why we're playing that.
So you know how
I don't
you
know
can, like,
why we're off-rolling so much. Yeah.
So you know how you can make comparisons to, like, roses are to red as violets are to blue, right?
Yes.
It feels like it feels like my strategy to Zarya is Bliss Marauders to whatever the heck this composition is.
Yeah, something like that. It's like here's the thing. This is the open lobby, but like, you know, like Diamond players, right? And you'll watch their gameplay for 30 seconds, and like they'll know what they're doing. Like they'll have their positioning good, their aim could be amazing, and then something just like flips in their brain. And even though these players are definitely not Diamond, I think that the switch has flipped. That for Bliss Marauders, okay, it's time to be goofy. But they have a lot of ults to be goofy with, so maybe those could bring them some success.
Point cap going to get pretty much free. Downpour comes out, gets Kill the Hog, and we see the spin to win, not getting anything for that Orisa.
Attack has gone off the map. Attack, I mean, was on... Okay, Attack is now on their third hero of the lobby. Tracer Genji is a pretty popular DPS line. Celix used the Orisa ultimate to get basically negative value there. And it was a Downpour and a Wu Yang ult that won it for my strategy. Is there any strategy left?
Maybe the big question. Zabber does have the blade. The one person who has been rock solid on this Genji all map. Let's see what they can do with it.
Yeah, going to go here. See if you have the opportunity to pull it out. Kitsune Rush can enable it, but the blade's actually just not going to be a factor in the slightest because Zabber gets taken down in the process, and Alizo is able to take Attack's head off with the overclock before the sound barrier is able to come out in time from Decay to save them. So now you've also thrown in probably your best support ult that you have on the team, and it's gone, vanished into nothingness.
And that's going to be point number 2 for my strategy. One more point, and they will win this series. Celix has also moved over to the Hazard to match DNA. Nissan has a Pulse Bomb at their disposal, and Sush will be right behind with the Kitsune Rush. Feels like my strategy is definitely going to have an advantage trying to buy or first point capture on this point.
Yeah, of course, they're both going to be jostling for it. There's a lot of damage onto Selex. The Pulse Bomb isn't necessarily the most effective thing onto a hazard blocking, but it can add up, but so can the damage being outputted as well. And when you back them into a corner, that's kind of what happens with wild animals. You back them into a corner, and they become stronger than you ever imagined.
Yeah, as the mirror has fully come out for the side of Bliss Marauders, and it has worked out well for them on this first team fight. They're able to get the point, but will it be enough in the long run? Is, you know, it's playing right into the hand of my strategy, because this is the composition they're good at. They want to be on this.
It would be pretty aura of Bliss Marauders to just win on the mirror composition. Right now, they do have some of the resources to help them do that. Downpour and Kitsune Rush coming out soon. Brutus is going to have one of those ult of his own, however. We're going to need to see if that come out. Great Wall to come out onto DNA, along with a beautiful Downpour from Selex as well. DNA going to counteract with one of their own. Suzu able to deny a good chunk of the value there, so both hazard ults traded for both teams to end up in the exact same spot. We actually use a self-ultimate from Brutus to just run it down onto Selex and actually gets the kill there. That's something that definitely surprises me. 4v3 now in favor, make that a 3v3 situation. Attack is actually proving to have arms on this Tracer. Who would have thought it possible? Actually doing a really good job, taking out everyone right now, utilizing that stream from the Wu Yang best as humanly possible. My strategy barely able to eke out this point cap.
These Marauders just got to win one fight, and they'll be able to capture this point. Nissan still has the Pulse Bomb at their disposal. Lots of ults. Kill the Hawk. Throws a Kitsune Rush down.
Yeah, that's going to come in. It's going to make life a lot harder for the members of my strategy for a moment here. Honestly, we need Nisan to come through with a hero Pulse Bomb. Not going to happen with Saba taking their head off. Lizo may be the only one that can equalize this with the overclock, but you know you only need 1 point left. You know this at 99. You know you're bleeding members. It's much smarter to go in, try and make Bliss panic for some ultimates out of them, perhaps. Especially now that you're down Alizo as well. You're still somehow holding on to this point. I genuinely thought this had already flipped back to Bliss Marauders. My strategy just a bit too damn stubborn to die, but we're able to trade up to some pretty good ults in the meantime.
Here we go. Point cap for Marauders. Things are getting interesting now that we're in the mirror. Both teams going to have an extremely huge ult bank coming into Gardens, which is going to be the fourth flashpoint. Again, my strategy just has to win one of these last two flashpoints, and they will be walking out of week one with a dub and a 1-0 victory, 1-0 standings.
Yeah, that'll be a crazy way to put yourself on the board, right? Shush, able to actually get the Kitsune Rush off, dies in the process, but DNA is being ultra-enabled right now, both by that ultimate and the other one, the Tidal Blast from Wu Yang 2. Turns out that if we invest everything into DNA... Actually, there was no Tidal Blast from Brutus. How did DNA
that was a Tidal Blast on a Selex.
Oh. But Selex just exploded anyway. Okay, well that would do it. A lot of things happening in the game all at once. We see a downpour come out from Selex, not able to get into one. There it is. There's the Wu Yang ultimate. Tidal Blast onto Brutus, able to knock down Selex. Not enough damage, but when all the resources are focused on keeping the tank alive, that clears some space for Alizo to come up. DNA has to be very careful here. Wu Yang is a very good healer, but only when, you know, they can actually see you and put you in a spot to heal you. Zaba comes out, plays really long range with the overclock, and actually takes down Alizo, who had one of their own. Did not want to opt into that 1v1. We see a Pulse Bomb come out onto Selex, while the DNA comes out with the downpour as well. So my strategy actually somehow able to hold on to this.
Yeah, and this is going to come down to two key ultimates for this final attack. They're trying to get attacked down, but it's going to come down to Overclock versus Kitsune Rush. Can Alizo get this done for their team?
Yeah, it's also Mauging time. Selex has swapped back over to the Mauga, literally just to hold the point for as long as possible, but uses the Cardiac immediately upon arriving there. And so at that point, it's just going to be a big fat ult battery for the rest of the members of my strategy to be taken down eventually. And this certainly went off the deep end rather quickly. And no, not because of the amount of Wu Yang play, but because of everything else happening. congrats to My Strategy, end up winning this match out 3-1. They put themselves on the board here with a big opening win.
Yeah, again, and it just came down to them finally getting back to what they were meant to play on this Hazard with this Wu Yang. It is very extremely meta right now, and they came through in a strong way. And I think, you know, this is quite the momentum you need to start building, especially in these higher tiers of play. Great week 1 victory for them.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic. I agree. So, I think it does come down to sort of what you were saying before. Even though we were able to see a lot of good work from Bliss Marauders, they had their own unique style, and it definitely worked for them, especially on King's Row, the map where they won. Ultimately, Wu Yang is love and Wu Yang is life in this current state, and My Strategy were just consistently more willing to play that and seemed a bit more comfortable with that hero. And ultimately, again, metas aren't that complex at the end of the day. It all coalesces around what is the strongest thing right now. The strongest thing is Wu Yang. Therefore, you build a comp around that. You're like 50% of the way there to getting your win.
Once again, congratulations to My Strategy. Bliss Marauders, great show, and unfortunately did not get the victory today. But as we continue to see these replays, it just all things considered, I think it was great adjustments, you know, especially I just look back to Dorado, where it was a little worrying with how that was going. They didn't get a lot of distance on the 3rd point, but they make swaps when they need to. Elizo going over to that Sombra at the end and having some high impact. And in the end, they're able to get it done.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And obviously, big congratulations to them for that. Are we planning on, I mean, it's an open question, I suppose. Are we planning on getting an interview with one of the members of My Strategy?
Yes, we will. We're going to take a quick break while we set that up, but we will be having an interview with DNA, the tank from My Strategy. So hold on to your bags, folks. We'll be right back as we set that up.
Welcome back, everyone, and as promised, we do have on the call DNA from Team My Strategy. Just pulled out a big 3-1 win over Bliss Marauders, who were pretty good coming into this tournament. So it's definitely impressive to be able to knock down a team like that. So DNA, first question I had for you. Obviously, it's a big win. It was pretty close on some of the maps as well. How's the team feeling? Is there kind of, a big sense of relief after winning a big match like that?
It was a tough match. We missed like 2 players, I think. So like we had some off-rolling, but I think we played well overall.
That was with off-rolling? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Very impressive then.
My flex DPS.
Yeah, I gotta ask kind of one thing that was scratching our heads a little bit. On King's Row, you guys had such a good attack on the hazard. Then on the defense, we kind of thought at first you were playing the Zarya because of the diva, but then like when they weren't playing the diva, you never took that hazard mirror. What was going on with that decision?
So Zarya is a comfort pick for me, so like I wanted to play Zarya there, but it clearly didn't work, so I had to switch back to Haz later on, but it was too late. Which is why we lost that map, I think. If it was like our main roster with our like normal chemistry, I think we'd do better. But it's unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, it's obviously very sad, but obviously you end up winning out the entire series. It's the one map, but we'll just forget it ever happened. Don't worry about it. I got you. So obviously the biggest talk right now is about the Wu Yang, right? Obviously came in, got all those buffs off the latest PTR, is really strong, kind of defines the meta, and it seems like you guys were a lot more comfortable with playing it than your opponents did. So how has your team kind of adapted to Wu Yang? Who's been picking it up, and how have you been, enjoying playing with and against him so far? Hello? Has he exploded?
No, he's not muted, Hippie.
Yeah, no, he isn't muted. So,
Oh, my internet died. Can you repeat?
Oh, hi. Yeah,
we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. I'll repeat. I'll make it brief. So, obviously, you guys seem pretty comfortable on the Wu Yang. New character, very strong. How have you enjoyed playing with and against the Wu Yang? How's your team adapted to him?
To be honest, this is our first time playing Wu Yang in an actual like controlled environment. Our support player Brutus, he played a lot of Wu Yang in ranked, so we gave it a try and it worked. Like obviously you can go really aggressive with a Wu Yang, so that was the idea behind it.
So no scrims. Just this was the first time you played Wu Yang in officials.
This is the first time, bro, and not the last time, definitely, because clearly he's a very strong hero.
Oh yeah, he's nuts. So you won this match by off-rolling and playing something that you've never scrimmed. I guess the sky's the limit then.
I mean, I hope so, honestly. Like, we had some rough situations in this games. I hope we don't face them in future matches.
For sure. And then last question for me, just interesting what was going through your guys' heads, considering how insane Zabber was on that Genji. How come you guys never thought about when you had the opportunity to go for that Genji ban?
To be honest, I think like when the fights actually worked for him, he does good. But most of the time, I think he's very easy to punish, which is why we never really targeted the Genji ban. I feel like our backline could have dealt with him easily.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this interview, DNA. Before we headed off, was there anyone that you wanted to give a special shout out to or special props to?
Shout out to my manager for playing DPS.
Your manager was playing DPS. Oh, brother. Oh, okay. This is where we're at now. Okay. All right.
I won't happen in the future. I hope so. I thank you guys for the interview.
Thank you so much. Let you go celebrate with the rest of your team. Very well done, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
All right. And with that is us done for today, but only on this side of the pond. Again, the European region, in all of its splendor and glory, is going to hold on just fine, waiting for the next match, which will happen at 20... 20 p.m. What am I saying? 8 p.m. Eastern time, which is about, I don't know, like 3 hours or so. I don't know. Ray could probably tell me a little.
It's 3 hours from now. That is correct.
3 hours from now. Well, you've had your designated, how long's it been? You've had your designated 2 hours of CGL. Wait for a little bit, have a nap, eat some breakfast or lunch or dinner or dessert or whatever the hell you want. I don't control your life. Don't be controlled by a clock. If you want to have a full English at 11 o'clock at night, go for it. But enjoy yourself before we get to our North American matches. So make sure to tune back in a few hours for our North American games. I have been Egder, joined by Tryhard Ray today. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a wonderful matchup, and we'll see you on the other side of the pond.